I promise." In a rush, the space between them narrowed. The world fell into silence as they lost themselves in the magnetic pull of one another, the flames of the past mingling with the embers of possibility. Their lips hovered just inches apart, warmth and need igniting new flames, awakening a longing that had lain dormant for too long. "I've craved you," he confessed, voice heavy with unspent desire, as though the words were an incantation, releasing the pent-up energy surrounding them. "And you," she admitted, her breath mingling with his, charged with foreboding and fervor. The moment expanded into a universe where time ceased, but reality crashed in as the distant sound of sirens echoed from the shoreline, abruptly cutting through their intimacy like icy water. Raelynn leaned back, a rush of vulnerability flooding her senses. "We can't. Not now. There's too much." Braxton cupped her face, his thumb brushing her cheek in a slow caress. "You're right, but we will, Raelynn, and when we do, it will be worth every shadow we've faced." She shivered, caught in the clash of their desires and the fires of fate, knowing that their journeys were only beginning. Scene 84. Heart to heart. The soft glow of twilight bathed the terrace in golden hues, the salty breeze whispering through the lush palm trees that framed the expansive view of the ocean. Raelynn Barrett leaned against the railing, her fingers tracing the cool metal, lost in thought. Below, waves crashed rhythmically against the cliffside, a symphony of sound that matched the turbulence rolling within her. She could feel his presence before she turned. Braxton Vale, a silhouette against the horizon, exuding a captivating blend of strength and vulnerability. His dark eyes, often hiding a storm of feelings, were now fixed on her. There was an intensity to the way he stood, hands tucked into the pockets of his tailored trousers, shoulders squared yet relaxed. "Penny for your thoughts?" he asked, his voice a deep rumble that mingled with the roar of the ocean. Raelynn sighed, momentarily breaking the facade of her carefully constructed composure. "I was just thinking how peaceful it looks out there." She gestured vaguely toward the sea, but her gaze remained anchored on him, searching for unspoken words among the ones they kept exchanging. "Peaceful?" he echoed, his eyebrow arching slightly, an invitation to delve deeper. If only it were that simple. He stepped closer, and the warmth radiating from him enveloped her like a blanket. "You're not the only one carrying weight on your shoulders, Raelynn. Everything," he swept a hand gesturing to the world beyond them, "is built on more than just beauty." Raelynn shifted, leaning back against the railing, her heartbeat quickening. The tension between them crackled like static electricity, each moment stretching and flexing with unspoken desire. "And what would you know about the weight of beauty?" she challenged lightly, yet her vulnerability seeped through the cracks of her bravado. He paused, his expression transforming into something raw and unguarded. "I know that beauty can be a prison. I've watched it captivate and destroy those I care about." Her heart stuttered at the honesty etched in his features. "And what about you? Do you escape it?" Braxton took another step closer, the distance evaporating as he leaned against the railing beside her, a mere breath away. "Sometimes," he murmured, eyeing her sideways, "but it's hard to escape when you're constantly assessing threats." Raylan's breath hitched, the metaphor hanging heavy. "Threats like our pasts," he replied, his voice low and intense. "Like the darkness shadowing your ambitions." She flinched at the revelation, knowing he had caught glimpses of the fear she draped around her like a veil. "And what darkness do you see in me, Braxton?" Instead of answering, he reached out, brushing a loose strand of hair behind her ear. The simple gesture sent ripples of warmth cascading through her. "I see strength," he said, his voice a soft growl, "even if you don't see it in yourself." Their eyes locked, and everything around them faded away. The sound of the waves, the chirping crickets, the world that had once felt so imposing. Only the two of them were left on that terrace, suspended in an electric moment of truth. Raelynn began, but the words died on her lips, drowned by the swell of emotions threatening to break the surface. In that charged instant, Braxton moved closer, tilting his head toward her. She could feel his warm breath against her face, and she inhaled sharply, the world narrowing to just him and the space between them filled with possibility. "Raelynn," he whispered, his eyes dark and inviting. With heart pounding, she instinctively leaned in, their foreheads touching, the universe stitching them together in that beautiful blend of vulnerability and longing. The world faded as he closed the remaining distance. Their lips met softly, a tentative brush that quickly deepened, the kiss igniting a flurry of emotions within her. It was a promise mingled with the taste of salt and tropical blooms, the warmth of his body radiating against her skin. Raylan's breath faltered as she surrendered to the moment, the chaos around them fading into nothingness. Just before the world fully blurred away, she felt his hand cradle her cheek, a grounding force that pulled her into the comforting embrace of his strength. And as the kiss lingered, filling the dark crevices of their aching hearts with warmth, Raelynn realized this connection was their strongest weapon, a love forged in the fires of their pasts. The chaos would come again, she knew it, but for now, they were invincible. "I don't want to lose this," she whispered against his lips, her pulse racing with the weight of her revelation. Scene 85. A prophetic vision. The sun hung low over the horizon, casting a golden hue across the ruins of the gallery, where decaying walls whispered of lost artistry and forgotten dreams. Dust particles danced in the shafts of light, creating a surreal, almost ethereal atmosphere. Raelynn Barrett knelt, carefully sifting through remnants of shattered canvases, each one a fragment of anguish and triumph, much like her own life. "Raelynn, we can't stay here much longer." Braxton Vale's voice broke the silence, laced with urgency. He loomed over her, the muscles in his arms tense, his jaw clenched. Shadows played across his face, highlighting the intensity of his gaze. "We need to find a way out before." "Before what?" Raelynn interrupted, her voice steady but tinged with underlying tension. "Before the past catches up with us? It already has, Braxton. I can't keep running." The weight of those words hung between them, laden with an unspoken understanding of their shared history, laced with ambition and vulnerability. He knelt beside her, his eyes searching hers, deeper than the ocean, stormy and yet calming. "I need you to focus." "This is about more than just the gallery," Braxton insisted, brushing his fingers through the debris beside her. "We have to uncover the truth, start anew." The warmth of his presence enveloped her. Raelynn took a breath, inhaling dust mixed with the scent of aged wood and forgotten artistry. It reminded her of childhood afternoons spent in museums, standing in awe beneath grand paintings, dreams taking root in her heart. "What if the truth is worse than we imagine?" she murmured, a sliver of fear piercing her bravado. "Then we face it together," he said simply, and the power in his promise resonated through her. Raelynn felt the rush of hope bubble forth, awakening something dormant within her. Could they really reclaim what had been lost? With a sudden spark, an idea ignited in her mind, a mosaic of visions dancing before her, new exhibitions, radiant colors, stories begging to be told. "What if we paint a new narrative?" Raelynn proposed, her voice rising with excitement. "One that honors the past but reshapes our future." Her eyes sparkled with passion. Braxton's brow furrowed as he processed her words. "You're serious?" His disbelief slowly morphed into a warm smile, coaxed by her enthusiasm. "You mean to channel all this chaos into something beautiful?" "Precisely." Her laughter generated an unexpected lightness, effervescent against the heavy backdrop of the ruins. "We make them see us, Braxton. Not just the artists or the exhibits, but what we stand for, what we can create." His gaze softened, and something tender flickered between them. "Then let's do that," he said, reaching out to tuck a stray lock of hair behind her ear, a small gesture, yet it charged the air between them. The intensity of their connection surged, each heart racing with possibilities they had once feared to embrace. The moment swelled, rippling with uncharted intimacy, a tension so thick it was palpable. Raelynn felt gravity shift, an unyielding pull toward him, and just as she opened her mouth to speak, he closed the distance, brushing his lips gently against hers. The taste of sun-warmed honey poured into her senses. The kiss was soft, exploratory, yet it crackled with the electricity of a new beginning. "Raelynn," he murmured against her mouth, breaking away slightly to search her eyes. "I'm here," she whispered, feeling vulnerable yet strong, overwhelmed by the storm of emotions swirling between them. "Then let's make our own history," he asserted, his determination a mirror to her ambition. But before she could respond, a distant crash echoed through the gallery, reverberating against stones that had stood silent for decades. With alarm creeping back into their hearts, she pulled back, breathing heavily. What was that? It's not safe here, Braxton said, adrenaline igniting in his veins. He grasped her hand, the warmth of their connection spurring the urgency. We need to move, together. Raelynn nodded, her resolve strengthening in the face of swirling uncertainties. They were breaking free, reconstructing their lives amidst chaos, and together they would reclaim their futures. Together, she echoed, feeling the weight of fear lift, replaced by something far more exhilarating. Scene 86, Bonds of Loyalty. The sun hung low in the sky, casting a golden hue across the private island where colorful art blossomed within the weathered walls of the gallery. A lively murmur erupted from a gathered group of friends, artists, and community members inside the gallery, now buzzing with the promise of revival. I don't know, Raelynn, said Tomas, a fresh-faced sculptor with tousled curls and an infectious laugh. Are you sure this is the color palette you want? It's vibrant. He held a swatch of tangerine against the deep cerulean wall, his brow furrowed in mock concern. Raelynn smiled, shaking her head, her spirit lifting with the camaraderie surrounding her. It's supposed to pop, Tomas. People should feel excitement the moment they step in, she said, her voice dripping with enthusiasm. Art should be a thrill, not a wallflower. Easy for you to say, Miss Curator. I'm the one who has to repaint it every week, sighed Amara, the gallery's assistant, navigating a precarious ladder with paintbrushes tucked into her curls. But okay, I'll trust your wild imagination this time. Their laughter intertwined, creating a vibrant tapestry of sound that filled the air. Even amid the uncertainty, Raelynn felt the weight of her worries dissolve into the shared warmth of the moment. She surveyed her friends, particularly Braxton, who stood at the edge of the crowd, scanning the room as if he were guarding his turf. His presence both anchored her and stirred something unpredictable within her, an emotion she couldn't quite pin down. Elena, the art historian and Raylan's mentor, approached with a fresh canvas in hand. Raelynn, darling, have I told you how much I admire courage in the face of chaos? You're creating quite the spectacle here. Just trying to rebuild what was lost, Elena, Raelynn replied, her smile faltering for a heartbeat. Thanks for believing in this, believing in me. I'd do anything for you. We all would, Elena assured, her voice softening. You know that, right? Even in life's darker moments, we hold the threads of hope together. Just then, the atmosphere shifted as voices rose around a nearby table. Andre, a local muralist with sharp wit and a touch of mischief, stood at the center of an unfolding debate. People are going to think we're throwing a rave in here. They will if you keep blaring that music, you madman. Raelynn shouted over the din, her laughter mingling with the chaos. Madman? Me? I'm simply providing ambiance. Andre waved his arms exaggeratedly, drawing snickers from the crowd. Art needs energy. Or at least some really great nachos. Raelynn chuckled heartily, her heart swelling with gratitude for the motivations behind their loyalty. You'll be responsible for half the community's waistlines, I swear. In the laughter that followed, two ideas collided: the joy of community and the underlying tension of her hidden truths. As friends engaged in spirited debates about art, their hopes intertwined with her unspoken fears, Raelynn felt the faint sting of vulnerability prick her thoughts as it hovered beneath her carefully constructed facade. Raelynn, Braxton's voice cut through the laughter like a sudden gust of wind, his intense gaze fixed on her, drawing her away from the revelries. Can we talk? Outside? The air shifted, the mirth fading as curiosity and concern curled into the corners of her mind. Yeah, sure. Raelynn palmed the edge of the table, trying to steady her racing heart. Just 1 second. As she turned back to her friends, a swell of laughter erupted anew, bringing her back momentarily. Don't worry about the nachos, Andre. I have a whole plan for snacks, she called back, a playful grin gracing her lips. With Braxton leading the way, they stepped onto the wooden porch set against the backdrop of cerulean waters. The sound of laughter faded, replaced by the gentle lapping of waves below, a soothing yet haunting sound. You look like you have the weight of the world on your shoulders, Braxton remarked, his voice low and steady, yet laced with concern. He leaned against the porch railing, the sunlight catching in his eyes, illuminating the hidden depths of his expression. I feel like I'm carrying a few burdens, but they aren't all mine. Raelynn searched his gaze for an anchor. I've built this place to make a difference, to prove that my past doesn't define me. Braxton shifted closer, his heat palpable. The world around them dimmed, narrowing down to just the two of them, where honesty hovered in the space between. You're not alone, Raelynn. You have us. You have me. Their breath syncopated in the summer air, anticipation bubbling just beneath the surface. In that moment, Raelynn felt the knot in her stomach loosen, the weight of loyalty wrapped around her like a protective cloak. I know, she murmured, the tension between them humming with unuttered feelings that transcended the chaos of the day. Braxton's eyes held a burning promise, as if he understood the tempest within her. And in that shared silence, surrounded by the vibrant chatter of their community, they stood together, an undeniable bond forged through the fires of vulnerability and loyalty, now shining brightly amidst the shadows of uncertainty. Scene 87, a new beginning. Amidst the lingering scent of wet paint and the echoes of shattered glass, Raelynn Barrett stood at the edge of the ruined gallery, her heart pounding like a war drum against her ribcage. The expansive windows framed a landscape of relentless ocean waves, crashing against the rocky shore just beyond the gallery's threshold, a testament to nature's raw power, much like the turmoil brewing within her. She took a deep breath, the salty wind mingling with the sharp tang of fresh varnish, a signal of both disaster and opportunity. As she surveyed the chaos around her, toppled sculptures, canvas torn asunder, her mind raced. Each fragmented piece mirrored the shards of her own ambition, crumbling under the weight of expectation. She could hear the hushed whispers of her team already gathering in the distance. Their faces held uncertainty, yet the warmth of their collective energy flared around her, waiting for a sign. "Let's get to work," Raelynn said, her voice firm as she swung around to face the group. The team, once divided by fear, quickly transformed into a cohesive unit, beginning to rally together, salvaging what they could. "Raelynn, what's the plan?" asked Walter, his brow furrowed in concern, a loyal partner and friend who had stood by her side through countless ups and downs. "We rebuild," she declared, her eyes lighting up with purpose as she motioned to the largest undamaged wall. "This gallery can become a statement, a phoenix rising from the ashes." The sound of cautious optimism filled the air as her team resumed work. Dark paint was replaced with vibrant hues, whispering promises of a new dawn, following the silence of devastation. Just then, Braxton Vale stepped through the gallery's threshold, his presence like a sudden gust of wind that stirred the air. His shoulders were squared with palpable confidence, yet his eyes held an uncharacteristic softness, a vulnerability that silently awaited her recognition. He moved closer, the rich aroma of his cologne mingling with the chaotic scents of paint and wood polish, grounding her amidst the chaos. "Need any help?" he ventured, his voice low, yet the words vibrated with an intensity that rippled through the room. "We can manage," Raelynn replied, the tension sizzling between them. "This is our moment, Braxton." "Your moment," he corrected, stepping into her space, the intensity of his gaze igniting an electric connection. "Just remember, I'm in this with you." Raelynn opened her mouth to respond, but paused. The bustling sounds of her team faded, and the space filled only with the charged silence between them. There was something primal in the air, an undercurrent of longing mixed with the stark reality of their lives, and as the distance closed, the unspoken pulled them closer. "I can't keep putting on a facade," she finally said, her voice barely more than a whisper, yet resonating throughout her being. "With you, I feel exposed." Braxton stepped just a fraction nearer, the air thickening as he regarded her. "Raelynn, being exposed isn't weakness. It takes strength to be vulnerable." Just then, a loud clatter erupted from the far end of the gallery, as two of her team members accidentally knocked over an assortment of art supplies. Laughter erupted, shattering the tension and pulling both Raelynn and Braxton from the gravity of the moment. "Seems like we're in for a long day," Raelynn called over her shoulder, the spark of laughter lighting up her face, driving away the shadows of doubt. "More than a day, I hope," Braxton said, a smirk creeping onto his lips, radiating warmth that erupted into her chest. "We want to make this place unforgettable." "Unforgettable," she repeated, the idea taking root. "Starting with tonight's gala reopening. My greatest show." "Yes," He nodded, confidence evident in his demeanor. We'll make it epic. As the team rallied back to work, Raelynn allowed the laughter and energy around her to fill the cracks in her spirit. She caught Braxton's eye once more, and in that shared glance, a promise lingered in the air between them, one of hope, collaboration, and the beauty of what was to come. Let's make this a new beginning, she said, her voice strong and clear, daring the universe to respond in kind. Scene 88. Unraveling the threads. Raelynn Barrett stood in the dim light of the gallery's storage room, an oasis cluttered with canvases draped like sleeping beasts beneath layers of dust. A faint scent of linseed oil hung in the air, a reminder of the creativity that once thrived here, now trapped underneath years of forgotten whispers. She pulled at the edge of a canvas, hesitating. Shadows danced along the walls, lights from the exhibition hall flickering in the distance, teasing her with life just beyond this moment of solitude. Art and memory, she murmured softly to herself, a tangled thread. Outside the room, she could hear laughter, her friends mingling with the guests preparing for the gallery's opening. Raylan's fingers brushed over the textured surface of a painting, the brushstrokes a map of emotions, each ridge and valley telling a story of heartache and hope. Her past loomed in here among the treasures of the gallery, concealed and powerful, just like her mentor, Lila, whose ambition had once been a guiding light. Raelynn? A voice chimed from the doorway, breaking the delicate silence. It was Braxton Vale, his presence filling the space with electricity. He leaned against the threshold, arms crossed, his dark eyes scanning the room before settling on her. You've been in here long enough to draft a manifesto on art preservation. How about a little fresh air? He stepped inside, and the air shifted. Raelynn shifted back, but only slightly, if one could move a few inches while remaining tethered to the ground. I need to finish this. Finishing touches can wait, he interjected, walking closer, the distant clamor of the gallery an undertone to their charged atmosphere. You're not in the shadow anymore, Raelynn. As he stood beside her, the warmth emanating from him brushed her arm, sending a flutter of recognition through her. She turned, and for a moment they were enveloped in a world of their own, rich with unsaid words. It's hard to let go of what I thought I had to be, she confessed, her voice barely a whisper. What if I don't recognize myself outside of this? Then let me remind you, he replied softly, his gaze steady. You're brilliant, fierce, you have power that can shake mountains. Don't forget it. His sincerity tugged at her core, yet beneath the surface lay an unspoken fear of their connection. But what if the past pulls me back? Raelynn asked. Then we face it together, Braxton said, his tone resolute. You took control of your life, and I'll be right by your side. Just promise me you won't withdraw. The tension between them thickened, tangible. It hummed like an electric current, vibrating with possibility. Raelynn averted her gaze, her heart pounding with the weight of her secrets. I'm tired of being defined by my history. Then let's reframe it, he suggested, closing the space between them until she could see the flecks of gold beneath his dark irises. What's holding you back? Let's break it down. In that instant, her resolve melted, revealing the vulnerability she had kept hidden beneath her bravado. The silence enveloped them. It spoke of unsaid desires and glimmering hopes. Raelynn took a step closer, their bodies nearly brushing. And if I told you I've kept secrets about my past, then we'll pull those threads until we find the whole tapestry, he whispered, his breath warm against her cheek. But right now, all I want is to be here with you. She could feel the heat radiating off him, a magnetic force that drew her in despite her fears. What if that ends up complicating everything? Complications make the best stories, Braxton chuckled, a warm spot igniting between them. What kind of story do you want to tell? With a mischievous gleam in her eyes, Raelynn leaned forward, allowing the barriers to drop just a little. One where I reclaim who I am, starting tonight. Braxton's gaze deepened, and for a moment, the world around them faded. They stood suspended in possibility, where their ambitions intertwined. Let's make some mischief then, he said softly, just as the hallway erupted into cheers, a reminder of life waiting for them outside this intimate sanctuary. Raelynn smiled, the laughter echoing their promise of new beginnings. For once, let's not take ourselves too seriously, he grinned, taking her hand. It's a deal. As they stepped back into the light of the gallery, Raelynn felt the past slip through her fingers, reshaping under the thrill of possibility. It was only in the act of unraveling threads that she could truly weave her future, and she was ready to embrace every nuance that awaited. Scene 89. Resilience in Adversity. The sun hung low in the sky, casting a golden hue across the expanse of the art gallery's polished white floors. The scent of fresh paint mingled with the sweet aroma of jasmine drifting from the oversized blooms in the vases, creating an atmosphere of clamorous beauty. Raelynn Barrett stood at the center of the room, her expression a cocktail of serenity and determination as she meticulously arranged an eclectic array of colorful canvases. "Focus on the story, not the scandal," she whispered to herself, a mantra to drown out the whispers of an impending drama. Outside, the rhythmic sound of ocean waves crashed against the rocky shores of the island, a constant reminder of the tumultuous waves she had to navigate in her life. Braxton Vale appeared in the doorway, his tall silhouette framed by the light behind him. He took a moment, leaning against the doorframe, watching her with a mix of admiration and concern. "Like a picture waiting to be framed," he said, stepping inside. The corners of his lips turned upward but betrayed a deeper unease. Raelynn looked up, a playful smile brightening her face, but the weight of their shared troubles dulled it. "What do you think?" She gestured to a particularly bold painting, its vibrant chaos contrasting sharply with the purity of the space. "Too much? Not unlike life, really," he remarked, moving closer. "But it needs something." "Us?" she interjected, cutting off his thought, a teasing lilt in her voice even as she felt the tension loom. "Are we the missing piece?" He narrowed his eyes slightly, contemplating her words as if weighing them against hundreds of unsaid emotions. The air thickened with unspoken history, the reach of their entwined fates blotting out the sun for a moment. "Maybe it's the audacity to face the truth," he said, his voice dropping, rich and dark like brewing coffee. Raelynn paused, her heart thrumming against her chest. "And what truth are we facing today? That my family's name is in ruins?" Braxton's gaze softened, the warmth of his presence cutting through the chill that followed her words. "Perhaps, or that we could reclaim it together." He stepped closer, the tension simmering hot between them. "You don't have to do this alone." As she pondered his words, laughter erupted from the adjoining room. Their friends had gathered for an impromptu celebration, the vibrancy of their lives disrupting the heavy moment. Yet, the laughter felt distant, muted, as if it belonged to another world altogether. "Sometimes I think they'd throw a party just to distract us from reality." Raelynn mused, a flicker of amusement in her voice. "Or to drown out our brooding," Braxton replied, allowing a small, genuine smile to escape. He moved even closer, the warmth of his body igniting the coolness of the gallery. The unmistakable magnetism enveloped her, drawing her inexorably toward him. "Do you remember when we first met at the fundraiser?" Raylan's voice trembled slightly. "You were so insistent on keeping things strictly professional." "And now look at us," Braxton replied with a smirk, his eyes glinting with mischief. "Not so professional anymore, are we?" "Yeah, well, you make it difficult," she teased, her heartbeat quickening at the closeness. The air crackled with unheeded desire. "I was a naive art curator. Now look what you've turned me into." "Passionate," he corrected, the throaty richness of his voice enveloping her like a warm blanket. "You're more than an art curator. You're fierce, and you challenge the status quo." "And what about you?" she challenged, her voice softening, curiosity sparkling in her gaze. "This quiet protector, hiding beneath a suit." Braxton shifted, the moment hanging between them, thick with possibilities. She could feel the air shift, the tension spark and thrum like an electric current. With a deep breath, they fell into each other's eyes, revelations teetering on the brink. "Maybe it's time to make a choice, Raelynn," he whispered, just barely audible but filled with weight. She moved closer, the distance between them evaporating, her voice no more than a velvety whisper. "Choose us, then." And in that moment, their lips met, igniting like a match striking wood, a slow and simmering kiss that spoke of promises, of battles fought and adversities ahead. The noise of laughter faded, their world compressed into the spaces between them, a tangible force of unity and purpose. It wasn't just a kiss, it was a melding of resolve, a vow against all odds. a romantic and fervent declaration that they would navigate the storms together. As the kiss deepened, the gallery breathed, vibrant and alive, an ever-unfolding canvas of their shared lives as they faded into the sound of laughter echoing softly beyond their bubble, a world waiting for them to reclaim. Scene 90. The Last Confrontation. The sun dipped low on the horizon, casting long shadows across the opulent terrace of the estate. Gilded railings framed a view of the shimmering ocean, the waves crashing gently against the jagged rocks below, a sharp contrast to the tempest churning within Raelynn. She paced, her heels clicking against the marbled floor, each sound echoing her rapid heartbeat. The scent of salt lingered in the air, mixing with the delicate fragrance of jasmine from the flower beds, but they failed to soothe her frayed nerves. Raylan's jaw clenched as she caught sight of her mentor, Donovan Hayes, standing not far away, his silhouette framed against the fading light. Tall and commanding, he exuded an air of authority that had once drawn her in, but now felt like a noose tightening around her ambition. He had been her guiding star, but today his light seemed dim, tainted by the shadow of betrayal that lingered over their relationship. "Raelynn," he called, his voice smooth like silk, yet edged with the sharpness of a blade. "We need to talk about your recent indiscretions." Raelynn straightened, adopting a posture of unyielding resolve. "You mean about my art or your manipulations?" She crossed her arms, feeling the weight of his scrutiny. The sun reflected off the golden trinkets adorning her attire, but she felt anything but radiant. He stepped closer, his eyes narrowing. "Let's not pretend you're innocent here. You've played your hand beautifully, but the deck is stacked against you." "Then let's flip the table," she shot back, her voice steady. "I'm done being your pawn. This is my career, and I won't allow you to dictate my path any longer." A silence fell between them, thick with the tension of unspoken truths. Donovan's lips curled into a mocking smile, yet his gaze held a flicker of something more. Was it admiration or anger? "You think you can navigate this world without guidance? You're out of your depth, Raelynn." Just then, Braxton appeared, his presence electric against the backdrop of their brewing storm. He moved towards Raelynn, the confidence wrapped around him like a shield. "You're wrong, Donovan. Raylan's strength is her vision. What she lacks in experience, she compensates for with passion." Donovan flicked his gaze towards Braxton, sizing him up with disdain. "And what would you know about Art Vale? A businessman trying to play curator?" Braxton's brow tightened, his demeanor shifting from casual observer to fierce defender. "This isn't about me. It's about her standing up for herself, the woman you tried to control." Raylan's heart raced as she felt the support radiating from Braxton. It stirred something deep within her, a burgeoning strength she had long buried beneath doubt. "I've realized that I don't need to navigate this world according to your rules," she stated, taking a step closer to Donovan, her chin lifted defiantly. "You think your little moment of rebellion will change anything? The industry will chew you up and spit you out." Donovan's smile had vanished, replaced by a dangerous intensity. "Maybe, but at least I'll go out on my terms," Raelynn retorted, her voice unwavering. The air charged around them, thick enough to cut. "Your terms will only lead you to ruin," he replied, but she could see the cracks forming in his facade. Braxton moved closer to Raelynn, a subtle shift in his stance, his shoulder brushing hers. Just that simple connection sent a spark cascading down her spine. "You won't ruin her, Donovan. Not anymore." Raelynn leaned slightly into Braxton, relishing the reassurance that chased away her lingering fears. "I know what I want, and it's not your approval. I'm not afraid of the world out there. I'm ready to embrace it." In that moment, a fire ignited within her, illuminating the shadows of her past that had too long kept her shackled. This was not just a confrontation. This was the beginning of her reclamation. Donovan's expression darkened, his voice low and edged with menace. "You think you can just walk away? You have no idea what I'm capable of." "You're forgetting something vital," she shot back. "I'm no longer your little protege. I will not be intimidated." In a burst, Braxton's hand found hers, grounding her in a whirlwind of emotion. The connection pulsed between them, igniting a warmth that spread through her. Their eyes locked, his filled with an intensity that stirred something deep within her. "Together, we can take on anything," he murmured, and she felt the depth of the determination in his gaze. As the atmosphere thickened with unresolved tension, she pressed a hand to his arm, seeking solace in his presence. Just then, their lips brushed, a fleeting moment that felt like a promise of defiance, of love, of a new beginning. The kiss deepened, swelling with passion, before they pulled away, breathless and brimming with renewed purpose. Raelynn met Donovan's unwavering stare, her resolve surging stronger than ever. "I'll make my own way. You can count on it." The finality of her words hung in the air, marking the end of an era and the dawn of her own story, one she was determined to write with or without his blessing. Scene 91. A declaration of love. Raelynn stood on the terrace's edge, the balmy ocean breeze tousling her hair as the sun dipped low on the horizon, painting the sky with hues of violet and gold. The waves crashed rhythmically against the rocks below, mirroring the turbulent emotions she could no longer contain. She still felt the imprint of their confrontation, the weight of words left unspoken hanging in the air. Her heart raced as the moment replayed in her mind, every exchange of heated glances igniting her thoughts. Braxton, with his intense gaze, had cut right through her defenses, forcing her to confront the tangled web of heart and history that ensnared her. She turned, ready to confront him, but just then he emerged from behind the foliage, his tall silhouette captivating against the backdrop of the dying sun. The world around them faded as their eyes locked, an electric tension sparking between them. "Raelynn," he stepped forward, grounding himself in the space around her. "After everything, he hesitated, and in that moment, Raelynn noticed the slight twitch of his clenched jaw, the flicker of uncertainty in his deep-set eyes. "What? You think I don't know?" she replied, her voice steady but laced with emotion. "I've felt it silently gnawing at me. Your secrets, Braxton, they're like the waves constant crashing against my walls." Braxton advanced, closing the distance, the scent of salt and cedar enveloping them. "And what's between us? A secret? A mistake?" His voice dropped, enveloping her in warmth, each word tightening the invisible thread that connected them. Raelynn stiffened, locking her knees as the truth washed over her, unmistakable like the salty air. "No," she whispered, her breath quickening. "I can't pretend anymore. I've built walls as high as they can go, but you make me wonder if they weren't meant to fall." A hint of a smile danced on Braxton's lips, an unspoken invitation lingering in the space between them. What if? He stepped closer, the intimate cadence of his presence wrapping around her like a warm embrace. "What if I stayed? What if I was everything you feared yet desired?" The sun bathed him in golden light, highlighting the depth of his resolve and the vulnerability beneath his intense facade. Raelynn bit her lip, the air thick with tension as she studied his face, the familiar lines of worry threading through his brow. There was a softness there, a flickering glow of something profound, waiting for her response. "Do you really want to take that chance?" she murmured, shaking off the chill of doubt that had settled over her heart and hinting at an ache she had tried to ignore. "With me?" Braxton's eyes locked onto hers, unwavering. "I've always wanted you, Raelynn. Every fierce moment spent in this chaos has led me here, to you, to us." He reached for her, fingers brushing along the back of her wrist, igniting a spark that shot through her whole being. Her heart thundered against her chest. The touch felt like a promise. Raelynn swallowed hard, savoring the warmth spreading through her core, igniting a fire she'd buried for too long. "I want you too," she confessed, her voice barely above a whisper, but charged with conviction. "But love can be dangerous, Braxton, especially with my history. I'm scared." "That fear, it's part of what makes us human," he said, his deep voice a soothing balm. "But I refuse to let that fear wield power over us. We're stronger than our pasts. We can be fierce together." Raylan's breath hitched, and she saw his determination reflected back at her, the honesty in his gaze infusing her with courage. She took a step closer, inching toward the precipice of vulnerability. "So what now?" she asked, a teasing note creeping into her tone, the tension shifting to something lighter, a flicker of hope sparking. His smile was infectious, igniting a warmth in the pit of her stomach. "Now I declare war against your fears. And I plan to win," he declared playfully, the teasing lilt in his voice awakening a bright laughter within her. She laughed, the sound echoing against the vastness of the ocean. "You're overconfident." Raelynn teased, the heaviness evaporating as hope flourished. Braxton's expression softened, his eyes revealing an ocean of unspoken promise. Sometimes the bravest declaration of love is just that, putting your heart on the line, no matter how many walls stand in the way. The last rays of sun slipped beneath the horizon, yet within their shared laughter and newfound determination blossomed a profound truth. Love was never easy, but perhaps, just perhaps, it was worth every risk. Together, they would face the storm ahead. Scene 92. Reconstruction and Hope. The sun hung low over the retreating waves, casting an orange glow that flickered off the remnants of the gallery's shattered glass. Cranes and scaffolding dotted the landscape, their metallic forms standing as silent sentinels to Raelynn Barrett's journey of renewal. The salty breeze wafted through the air, carrying with it the scent of the sea and the faint trace of freshly mixed paint. Raelynn stood at the heart of the chaos, her hands planted firmly on her hips, watching as her community poured their passion and energy into the rebuilding effort. Are we really going with mauve for the accent walls? Calvin, a local artist with wild curls, squinted up at her from the ladder, his playful tone lightening the grim atmosphere. I thought we agreed on something more bold. Raelynn chuckled, the sound mingling with the rhythm of hammers and laughter echoing around her. Calvin, mauve is the color of sophistication. It's still bold, it just knows when to keep it subtle. Subtle, he exclaimed, shaking his head incredulously. You just wait. You'll look back and regret it when every critic comes to see your opening night and they report on your subtle mistake. With a playful roll of her eyes, Raelynn turned, catching sight of Braxton Vale moving through the crowd, his presence magnetic even amidst the bustle. He exchanged banter with a few volunteers, charm dripping from his every word. But there was something deeper behind his smile, a flicker of intensity that caused her heart to quicken. She shifted her focus, trying to push away the how much she appreciated his support. After all, he had motives that weren't quite in line with her own. Are you planning to paint or just supervise? Braxton posed as he approached, arms crossed, leaning casually against a beam. The sun highlighted the sharp lines of his face, turning him into a figure sculpted from bronze. Supervising, obviously, Raelynn shot back, eyes sparkling. I need to save my strength for the real work, like convincing these eccentrics to stick to the color scheme, or shielding yourself from criticism when everyone hates the mauve, he countered with a teasing smile, stepping closer. Why? You think I can't handle it? Raelynn challenged, raising an eyebrow. I know you can handle it. That's the problem, he said, his voice lowering, thick with warmth. But you know you can't oversee everything. Like I said, I have the community helping me. They want this gallery as much as I do, she replied, a fierce determination bubbling in her voice. But just as she felt empowered, a shout pierced through the laughter. Hey, what do you think you're doing? It was Darnell, one of the more seasoned volunteers, glaring at a newcomer who had just kicked over a bucket of paint. Just painting with my feet, the young man shouted back, laughter still bubbling in his throat as he danced away. Darnell threw his hands up in exasperation. Oh, great, next it'll be finger painting, Darnell spat out, his frustration rising. Get it together. Let him have his fun, Darnell. Raelynn smiled, interjecting before things escalated. We're building a space for art. Why not let creativity breathe? As Darnell rolled his eyes, Braxton leaned in closer to Raelynn, the tension morphing into an intimacy only they could feel. You're inspiring them, you know, he said, a soft thrill threading through his words. You're showing them how to dream again. Raelynn caught his gaze, and for a fleeting moment they were cocooned from the chaos around them. And what about your dreams, Braxton? Have you found a way to fulfill them without compromising? His expression shifted, revealing a hint of vulnerability, although he quickly masked it with a playful smirk. I'm just here to help, remember? No ulterior motives. Right, Raelynn replied, the weight of his hidden truths colliding with her own fears. And I'm just building an art gallery, free from the past. As if to punctuate the moment, another loud crash erupted somewhere behind them, drawing a collective gasp. The laughter dissipated, tension tautening the air like a drawn bowstring. Raylan's heart raced. The stakes were higher than she'd anticipated. Stay here, Braxton said, his voice low and authoritative, drawing her focus back to him. I'll take care of this. Her pulse thrummed in her ears, a desire mingling with anxiety. Just keep everything on track, okay? She replied, reaching out lightly to touch his arm, an unspoken promise passing between them. With a nod, he moved into the fray, resolute, and she turned her attention back to the gathering crowd, that same resolve echoing within her. Among the swirling chaos, the laughter reemerged, stronger, louder, and laced with a shared commitment to grow. Now, about that mauve, she called out, reasserting herself, ready to embrace whatever came next. Scene 93. Facing the future together. The afternoon sun hung low over the exclusive island owned by the enigmatic billionaire, casting long shadows across the terrace where Raelynn Barrett and Braxton Vale stood, locked in an intense embrace. The air crackled with electricity, a palpable tension that mirrored the storm brewing beyond the horizon. The scent of salt water mingled with the rich aroma of jasmine from the nearby hedges, each note pulling Raelynn deeper into a moment that felt both exhilarating and dangerously alive. "Do you think we're prepared for what's coming?" Raelynn asked, her voice steadied by a newfound resolve. The breeze tousled her hair, sending wisps dancing around her face. She met Braxton's gaze, his dark eyes reflecting a mixture of admiration and concern. "We've come this far together," Braxton replied, his tone a blend of confidence and vulnerability. He stepped closer, nearly invading her space, the warmth of his body inviting yet demanding. "I won't let anything take you away from me again." Raylan's heartbeat quickened at his words, a sonorous rhythm echoing through their entwining fates. She shifted slightly, her hands finding solace on his forearms, muscular yet tender. "You say that, but there are things out there. Things about my family, my past." A distant clap of thunder rumbling echoed her uncertainty. "What if they catch up with me?" "Let them try," Braxton said, his voice a low growl. The strength in his stance, feet firmly planted, shoulders squared, radiated assurance. "I'll face them all. We will face them together." As he spoke, the sky darkened, clouds swirling ominously above. Raelynn felt an awakening surge within her, a desire that pushed against the walls she had built. What if it's not just the past? What if it's your past, too? What if your secrets come to light? Her voice trembled slightly, fear threading its way through her candor. "Then it's a risk I'm willing to take," he replied, the fervor in his voice igniting an adoration clouded with defiance. "You deserve a clean slate, Raelynn. You deserve a future unburdened." A burst of wind whistled past, as if the island itself was urging them to embrace the storm. She examined the lines of his face, noting how the sunlight created shifting patterns across his skin, illuminating the depths of his character. "And what about you? What if your past doesn't let you go?" Braxton's expression softened, revealing a flicker of vulnerability. "I'm here, aren't I? What I feel for you, it's worth any threat. I won't be held back." The fervor in his tone ignited a fleeting smile on her lips, but also deepened the poetic tension surrounding them. "Why are you so sure?" she pressed, opting to challenge the ease with which he spoke, unwilling to let her doubts settle. "Because I've seen a world without you, and I don't want to go back. Every moment we spent apart drew me closer to this us." His honesty dripped like honey, sweet yet heavy, making her ache in a way she couldn't quite articulate. Raelynn felt the weight of his words settle in, crafting a sense of unity, even as she wrestled with her own fears. "And if it all crumbles, what if I can't handle everything it brings, the fear, the chaos? Then we rebuild," he asserted, a fierce determination emanating from him. "Together. You are stronger than you think, Raelynn Barrett." He lowered his head, his breath mingling with hers, the proximity sending shivers racing down her spine. At that moment, the air around them thickened with desire, palpable enough to cut through the ever-looming shadows of their pasts. He leaned in closer, but paused, his eyes searching hers. "You know we can't forget that we're in this together, right?" Raelynn nodded, the obstacles ahead suddenly feeling a bit less imposing as long as they faced them side by side. "Together," she breathed, the word a promise, a declaration, an unbreakable bond. The clouds crackled ominously, a herald of the storm, yet amidst the brewing tension, the potential for growth and joy began to unfurl between them. Together they would face whatever lay ahead, rose petals and storm clouds intertwined, their pasts merging as one new, vibrant future beckoned on the horizon. "Are you ready?" Braxton whispered, his voice low and steady. Raelynn eyed the churning waves as they crashed against the shoreline, then turned back to him, her heart racing, as ready as I'll ever be. Scene 94. Threads of Fate. The ocean whispered secrets against the shoreline, a gentle surf punctuated by the shimmer of broken sunlight glancing off the water's surface. Raelynn Barrett stood on the terrace of the estate, a luxurious property on the billionaire's exclusive island, the warm sea breeze tousling her hair, carrying with it the fragrant aroma of blooming gardenias from the nearby flower beds. Vibrant colors painted the horizon as the sun began its descent, saturating the sky in hues of orange and purple that reflected the tempest of emotions roiling within her. Braxton Vale approached, his presence a magnetic force that unraveled her thoughts. He wore a tailored suit that accentuated the strength in his form, contrasting sharply with the delicate surroundings. As he stepped closer, the air thickened with an unspoken tension, a canvas awaiting the stroke of a brush, a moment suspended in time. "Beautiful evening, isn't it?" he said, the corners of his mouth curving in a half-smile that hinted at secrets of his own. Raelynn turned to face him, her heart racing in response to his intense gaze, both protective and challenging. "Maybe it's the company," she replied, her voice steady but her pulse quickening. The way he looked at her always ignited a fire just beneath the surface, a warm glow that both terrified and exhilarated her. A flicker of humor played across his face. "Are you referring to me or the sunset? Because if it's me, I'll take it as a compliment." "Confidence looks good on you," she teased, crossing her arms as if to shield herself from the intensity that simmered between them. Every inch of her was alive with anticipation, the intricacies of their relationship a delicate web, woven with threads of attraction, ambition, and the shadows of their pasts.